greetings, come on in. Greetings, come on in. Welcome, come on in. Alafia, Abor Gandhi, Jumbo, K2, Bawoni, come on in. Welcome, come on in. All is a blessing, all is a blessing, all is a blessing, all is a blessing, all is a blessing. Come on in, welcome and come on in. Come back home to Africa, she's calling your name to win. Come back home to Africa, the fatty calf and golden ray are waiting for you once again. Coming back to you. I'm longing for my family, coming back to you. Out of bondage and now I am free. Da 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 da, da 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 da, da da da. Da, da, da. Come on in, welcome, greetings, come on in, beloved, come on in. Welcome, Tasha with love, come on in, Tasha's touch, come on in, all is a blessing, all is a blessing. Greetings, beloved, Keyshia D. Carter, our moderator, come on in, beloved, come on in, coming back to you, come on in. Regina White, greetings, beloved. All is a blessing to you and yours. All is a blessing, Greetings, come on in. Welcome, Sylvia Bell. Come on in, beloved. Come on in. Greetings. All is a blessing. Greetings. Come on in. Come on in. All is a blessing. Come on in. Come on in, y'all. Come on in. Greetings. Adrian, come on in, beloved. Wow, come on in. Greetings. Welcome, Nikki Temple, beloved. Come on in. Welcome. Come on in. Selma Bay, come on in, beloved. Come on in. Lady Tina, it's gonna be all good, beloved. Come on in. Aye, Bobo, come back home to Africa. Please click like, please subscribe. Blog Talk Radio, please subscribe. YouTube, please subscribe. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, please click like, please subscribe, and you're welcome to call me now at 845-277-9143. 845-277-9143. Eshua Leguana Kosi Weri Awo Omlo Utani Iwo Ada Afanbo Osi Obatala Mi Ita Ni Ibo Onelio Abane Shu. Eshu is the respected elder who flogs, confronts, uncovers fools. The one versed in mysteries uses truth to own you. He causes scattered to feed poverty. Obatala shakes rascals to have sacrifice. The owner of warnings is the one who is Eshu. Aboru, Aboye, Aboshishe, Ashe. May our Ebo reach a room. May our Ebo be accepted. May our Ebo allow what we desire to come to pass. And so we say Ashe. Asheo and Ashe. Divine all blessed joy and prosperity, elevation, revelations, and manifestation. You are now sitting live with the Divine Prince, Pan-African spiritualist, practitioner, author, and advisor, Elagoon Oloye Hoodoo Obeya Bokur, sharing with you in all things spiritual, mystical, metaphysical, cosmic, evolutionary, revolutionary, healing, and holistic from a Pan-African Hoodoo world spiritualist perspective. Understanding that all is truly and indeed a blessing if you can just see beyond the veils, for it is all just an illusion and a test and one of the greatest divine mysteries of this life cycle. This is indeed my constant prayer, my mantra, my affirmation and reverberation, my reiteration, and it is my ever-living reality. It is indeed crucial to the very foundation of my inner standing, my teaching, my walk, my works, and ultimately my demonstration along this divine, all blessed life path and journey. It is how I, the Divine Prince, make sense out of all that we're challenged with here in our daily existence on Mother, Father, Earth. And it is my personal place of power and inner standing. That place from where I begin, that place from where I realize and crystallize all my endeavors, understanding that I and I alone create and co-create my divine destiny, and I alone create and co-create my divine, all blessed reality. And so it is, Ashe, Asheo, and Ashe. I'm always humbled, honored, and appreciative for those of you who do choose to join me here at high noon, U.S. Central Standard Time, coming to you live, verbally, virtually, cosmically, quantum universally, from this working temple of the House of the Divine Prince, Tide Potions, and Hoodoo Central, in this legendary, historic, beautiful, most haunted, and most enchanted city in America, New Orleans, Louisiana, the land of my ancestors and those who came before me along this Hoodoo Obeya life path and journey, passing down the great Obeya stick along with the knowledge of the life-giving herbs, roots, plants, rituals, spirits, minerals, indeed the traditions of our story, the heritage of our story, indeed, as our beloved Denise Augustine will say, our sacred stories. All is truly and indeed a blessing. We always come together in this shared space, in this sacred space, understanding that sacred space is critical. The creation of sacred space is critical to the foundation of anything that we might say or do for those of us who are walking in the spirit realm, for those of us who are operating in spirituality and religion, for those of us who are in connection with something greater than ourselves. Some would say outside of ourselves, but indeed it dwells within us. It begins within us, the creation of sacred space. It's all about what we hear. It's all about what we see. It's all about what we internalize and what we think we know and understand. Understanding that the spirit realm is more real, more evident, more tangible, more efficacious than anything we can imagine on this flimsy, plastic, ever-transforming physical time-place dimension. So that which you create in heaven, you create on earth. That which you create on earth, you create in heaven. And indeed, that which you create must first originate from in here. Must first originate from in here, from within the God, from within the goddess that indeed each and every one of you are, and stand in this sacred space to represent. Understand, God ain't one path, God ain't one tradition, God ain't one bloodline, God ain't one lineage. God is multifaceted. God is universal and cosmic. The goddess is everything and then some. She is everything and then more. So aspire right now in this moment, aspire to be more. Aspire to accept more. Some of you have blockages up that don't even allow you to accept more, to accept the blessing. You can't envision it. You can't see it. You can't crystallize it. So therefore, it's not there. What good is 100 pounds of gold hidden away in your basement that you don't know about? What good is the defensive weaponry that you have tucked away in a secret space in your house that you don't know about? What good is it to you? So indeed, we must allow our heads to allow us to open up, not just our heads and our consciousness and our minds and our hearts and our spirits, but indeed our hands to receive the blessing. Once upon a time, I used to visit Mas Miriam every Sunday, 1 o'clock. Once upon a time, I would sit under Farrakhan and listen to what he had to say and what he taught and what he shared. And he was the first person that I heard say, God can't bless a man or woman with closed hands. God can't bless you unless you open up, unless you receive. And the Yerba and the Lukumi, under the sound of my voice, and the Nago, understand or read. Understand or read. Indeed, my Voodoo initiates understand or read and what Ori is. And the power of our own head to open and close, to allow. That is indeed the gatekeeper. We talk about the gatekeepers out in society, out in culture, out in politics, out in our grassroots organizations, but indeed the gatekeeper sits at your head. You allow in, you accept in, you receive in what's being said, what's being done, what's traditional, the way we've always done it. And at some point you have to then be ignoring or read. You're not paying attention. How often do you say, I knew this was going to happen? How often do you say, I knew I shouldn't have trusted this person? How often do you say that in your head? My godchildren, my initiates got that written down in a journal. They can point that very moment in time space when they heard the voice of Ori, when they heard the voice of their own God self, when they heard the voice of their own consciousness. And it's at that crossroads we desire to take the right action, take the right path. So there aren't any regrets on the other side. So there aren't any regrets after the fact. Thank you for your lovely Skype calls, but I can't do it in the middle of my show. I can't answer your Skype calls in the middle of my show. Thank you kindly. All is a blessing. Greetings, greetings, beloved. Please acknowledge our moderator in the chat, our beloved Nikki Carter. At some point in the very near future, we're going to have it together. And Kiona is going to actually be signed in to handle this chat for me. And then all I'm going to do is just talk and respond to your questions and your comments as we're moving forward. So be patient. I'm transforming the house. I'm transforming the space. I'm transforming the show. I'm transforming the platform. So just allow us to grow. Greetings, Chef Bougie. Greetings, Orisha, beloved. Eva Orisha, Mojiba Orisha. Danica James, thank you so much for being present. Thank you for being a first-time participant, a first-time viewer. You are indeed a first-time participant. You're speaking. You're talking. We hope you would ask questions and that you would continue to participate. So we appreciate you, Danica James. You're not just a viewer, you are indeed a first-time participant. I can't tell you how many people are viewing us right now who've never chatted anything in the box, who've never liked anything, who've never shared anything. So we appreciate you, beloved. Come on in. You're welcome in this space. Come on in. Greetings, Nikki Carter. Greetings, beloved. I got a lot to say today about Ifa and Voodoo and Ifa. I owe you some, I know, from yesterday. So I'm going to bring it to you today. I got a lot to say about Airway. I got a lot to say about Eze. I got a lot to say about plants and herbs and those things that we utilize in the practice and tradition that is Voodoo. Understand, Voodoo is a universal word. It is a created word here in the West, on this side of the water, to describe all of us, to describe all of these incoming Africans in their tradition. Voodoo. That's where this voodoo came from. The voodoo with the U that you all like to grab onto is French. It's Creole. So we do say it and use it if we're speaking Creole, of course. And it goes back to a Fon root in West Africa, meaning spirit. But if we understand the conditions of the Middle Passage, if we understand the conditions of slavery and enslavement, then we can understand how Voodoo with 4 O's came about. Not just that they couldn't say it, not just that it was bastardized linguistically, it was created out of a new evolving condition. The voodoo that we knew and practiced in West Africa leading up to the missionaries coming in, the colonizers coming in, the slavers coming in, had a very different purpose, had a very different foundation, had a very different grounding, had a very different root. And we're going to talk about that today. The path of the Yerba, the path of the Ewe, the path of the Fon, the path, how these people all came together in the first place, and what we now know as Voodoo. To answer Voodoo, without Voodoo, there is no Ifa. Without Ifa, there is no Voodoo. You have to understand what Voodoo is. And Voodoo is nature. And nature ain't limited to one group of people. Nature ain't limited to one ethnic group. Nature ain't limited to one geographic location. So this new Voodoo with 4 O's, and if you want to really be technical, okay, I'm gonna give it to you. Haiti, you can have your you. You can have your creolized speech and your creolized religion. But New Orleans, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, we're talking about revolution. We're talking about the escaping of slavery, the escaping of the environment of slavery in conditions that were very different than what our Brazilian cousins experienced, our Venezuelan brothers and sisters experienced, our Cubano brothers and sisters experienced. We couldn't gather, we couldn't drum, we couldn't sing, we couldn't even pretend like we knew anything African. The risk was dismemberment. The risk was lynching. The risk was having your tongue cut out, your face marred, your ear removed, your hands removed. That's the ugliness of enslavement that we don't want to talk about. See, we want to talk about racism and white supremacy and the systemic system of that. But that, how does that happen? How does the whole world accept that generationally over and over? How do we accept that? Because it's ingrained by pain. It's ingrained by death. It's ingrained by killing. It's ingrained by martyr. And that's why their religion sticks in your craw so deeply. What better imagery than a bloody corpse? What better imagery? Some of y'all know exactly what I'm saying. I got you. Some of you know exactly what I'm saying. So give me my 4 O's. I'm good with that. Give me St. Milo and the Maroons. I'm good with that. Give me those who fought and died for our freedom, even when our freedom wasn't even on the radar, wasn't even in the vision. They killed St. Milo when freedom wasn't even on radar yet. Yet we had those among us who wanted liberty, who wanted freedom, who wanted revenge in very ugly circumstances. So give me my voodoo with 4 O's. Give it to me. Give it to me. The power of Louisiana voodoo is legendary. It's legendary. Often for some of the wrong reasons, but it's legendary. You better listen to your blues artist. You better go back in time and understand your history. People from all over the nation, all over the world came to New Orleans for the voodoo. For the voodoo. This is before tourism, people. This is before the entertainment industry, people. This is before this became a joke to some of you. This is before it became appropriated to the degree that we see it and understand it to be today. So give me my 4 O's. I'm good with my 4 O's. I challenge you with my 4 O's. It's all good. And without nature, none of it exists. Akan, Fan, Ede, Ikbu, Hausa. Without nature, none of it exists. None of it has power. So indeed, voodoo is nature. And so if there cannot be any Ifa without voodoo, there can't be any Ifa without airway, without plants, without herbs, without a connection to the ground, without a connection to the oceans and the lakes and the streams, without a connection to the mosque and the morning dew and the 4 o'clocks and the morning glories, but without a connection to bird life. I can't tell you the bird life that visits my yard. I got blueberries. I got sweet herbs. I got bananas. And I live in a tropical zone. So I get red birds and bluebirds and beautiful birds that come and visit my yard. One must be in touch with nature. And indeed, self-nature. Too many of us are cut off from our own nature. You can't control your vices. You can't control your gambling. You can't control your eating. You can't control your excessive drinking. You can't control your excessive emotion. You can't control your excessive anger. We're still talking about nature, the nature of man and woman. My mama read from the Bible. My mama quote for the Bible, and she says that the heart of man is spitefully wicked. Who can know it? Who can know it? So we wake up in battle. The infant comes in the world screaming, God, here I am again. What's going on? Where am I? We wake up in battle. All the extra battle stuff that we take on often is unnecessary and an illusion. Let your frenemies be. That's an illusionary enemy. If they're not taking no food out your mouth, if they're not harming your children, if they're not in your house, if they're not in your life, that's an illusion of people with too much time on their hands. We've got to look at the Western culture that all of us are a part of, that all of us to some degree are living in. You got a computer, you got a device, you got technology, you in this Western culture just like the rest of us. Just as Stevie Wonder once said, be sure that when you say you're in it, but not of it, be sure you're not helping to create this world, this life that we sometimes call hell. Thank you, Stevie Wonder, for that. So be sure that you're not the devil. Be sure you're not the jinn. Be sure it's not of you, this outward manifestation that you might see, that you might be walking in, that you might be participating in. And when we get caught up in our flesh, in our body, in the lower quaternaries, in the lower zones of our consciousness, in the lower positions in the chakra, you don't see what's going on at the higher level. So we start blaming and disassociating. It's happening to me. It's happening from outside of me. They did it. It did it. The system did it. The people did it. You know, and at some point, a God has to take responsibility. At some point, a goddess has to take responsibility, has to take autonomy, has to take some controls of the reality that we create and recreate. You want another country, another land? Create it. Create it. You want to repatriate? Create it. Make it happen. Make it happen. First, it has to happen in the mind. First, it has to happen in the head. Oh, wow. The people who have dreams and visions and no plans. I want to be rich and famous. Well, beloved, how do you profess to do that? And they have no plans, no roadmap, no vision board. I love vision boards. Vision boards are very powerful. Vision boards are not some new age game. Vision boards have an ancient connection to it. Being able to bring out of the mist, M-I-S-T, bringing it out of the clouds, bringing it out of the spirit realm into the physical realm, you must write something down. You must draw it. You must paint it. You must sculpt it in clay. You must make a prototype. You must make it real. Unless it's still just an idea. All of us in this room got visions of hitting the lotto. All of us in this room know what we would do with Powerball money. But until we bring it out into the real world, it's just a dream. Hey, Keyshia Smith, beloved, greetings. It's just a notion. It's just an idea. Greetings, all my beloved listeners and my regulars and my newcomers. Hoodoo occultism, beloved, I got you. And let me tell you, that email was right on point. This is just for you. Those of you who were here early and were watching the videos saw me play Wolf, Hawk, Jaguars video. And the priestess says, and this is for Hoodoo occultism, the Orisha are speaking English now. The Orisha are speaking English through us. That's the response to that email. Okay, but I'm gonna respond back to you later when I get a chance. But that's the response to that email. But you got to know what you know. You got to know the system. And I liked how you said, I want to learn the language. Learn the language. That's why I'm teaching you to you the way I am. That's why I'm giving it to you piece by piece, the way I am. Now, what's missing is airtime. We need some consultation time. We need to be on Skype. I need to be able to see you. You need to be able to see me. I am going to produce for my Patreon participants some videos in coming days of me actually doing the libation and saying the cool water at the same time. And I'm gonna say it in English, and I'm gonna say it in Yerba. And I might say it in English, Yerba, Ewe, and Igbo, but that might be a little bit too much. Okay, so I'm going to say it in Yerba and English. I'm going to do Mojuba. I'm going to do Ibai. I'm going to go through the chants, the prayers that are present in the documentation for my new listeners. He and I right now are talking about the work, initiation work, ancestral work and divination, that work. And so my students often show up in the audience. They hear things from a different perspective than what you hear things, because they're on this side of the gate, if you will. They're in the courtyard of the village. So if you're just watching, you're going to hear me say stuff that makes no sense to you, that you won't necessarily hear with the same depth that we hear. You might get what's for you, but you won't get it all. You won't get it all. So for my frenemies, my students / frenemies who like to come and copy and appropriate, and well, maybe I'll do that, but I won't click like and I won't subscribe to his show. But I might try that for myself. Go ahead. Go ahead and try that for yourself. Greetings, Tamara Bragg. Greetings, beloved Miss Lovely. How you doing?
Hello, hello. How you doing?
Are you muted? Because I can't hear you yet.
No, I'm not muted. Can you hear me?
Yeah, okay. I can hear you now. I had muted myself because the Skype kept ringing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Go
I'm getting
ahead. How you
outside,
doing?
getting some fresh air. How are you? How's everybody doing?
All is a blessing.
Yes, it is. It
I'm
is.
getting a little fresh air, but I'm doing more work.
Right.
I haven't really, still haven't had any downtime. I'm still um, recreating the new space just on the other side of this wall.
Okay.
If you can imagine, everything that's over here, I got the same thing going on the other side of the wall, but that's going to be where the new temple space will be.
My my
So I've been
my
working
son is
on that.
waving. Hey, I'm sorry. Sorry about that.
Hey, love you. Hey, I like to see the family, the children. Hey, how you doing? Yeah,
He said I'm doing good. So
that's good.
I just I had to get on. I tried to get on yesterday, but I think you didn't have a show. But
Yeah.
so I wanted to talk to you about like soul contracts and past life relationships with people. I'm dealing with a family member that has been actively doing dark magic against me for a very long time. And I always come out of it, always, overcome it and block her. But as of late, I was just made aware that she paid $30,000 to a Santeria or Lukumi priestess or whatever to do death work on me and my children. And part of it is she's really mentally ill and crazy, but also there's a extreme jealousy there. It always has been. It started with her jealousy of my mother, and she wants to destroy me because she knows my future and my destiny, and what I can do in the world for people, and also that I have the destiny to be initiated, to be a priestess or whatever it is that the ancestors choose for me to be. So as of late, I had her energy, or she sent something into my house. My phone stopped working. I couldn't use my charger. Like everything just died. She was sending dark energy into my house to try to kill my children, for there to be like a tragic accident or something. So I've been doing a lot of protection work this morning. I want to know, what is, when you deal with people like this, do they have some type of past life soul contract with you? Were they an enemy in a past life for them to be so obsessed and persistent with trying to destroy somebody?
Um, Perhaps you, of course, have given me many layers that I have to unpack.
Okay.
I have to accept your story. I have to accept
Hmm.
your version of the story. One of the questions that first popped in my head was, how do you know for sure she's working this dark magic on you? And then you immediately went into a bit of an explanation, something that gave me some sense that there is some outward communication or expression that you're clearly aware of that
Hmm.
that that gives this confidence that, okay, yeah, I absolutely have this family member that's doing this. Now, if
Hmm.
I accept that to be the truth, then yeah, when we think of space, we're often taught this very Eurocentric Valentine's Day, love and relationships, chocolate candy, roses, and wedding bands. We have that kind of understanding about what soulmates are. And
Hmm.
that's not what soulmates are. The best way to look at a soulmate family, and forgive me for going here, are the disciples, Christ and the disciples. So you're going to have family, friends, people that you connect to almost instantly. Sometimes you don't know them. Sometimes they be total strangers. And 5 minutes of conversation, and y'all girlfriends, y'all kiki forever. Then you have people in your family that you ain't never connected to. They
Hmm.
ain't never connected to you. You ain't never connected to them. They're not interested in making it come together. And so, yeah, particularly when we look at families, we're looking at soulmate clans. And so, in a past life, you could have been the man, the woman, the mother, the father, the son, you know, the enemy, the friend, and we come back to clean up that work, to address that work, in every generation, in every lifetime, if you will. So there's something clearly that she's responding to. It could very well be something ancestral, something lineage based
Hmm.
within the family. Based on what you said, I'm also suggesting that everything about her position is not entirely clear. If there's a way to have a conversation and find out exactly what she's upset about, and have her tell you honestly, that could be beneficial. But if that can't happen, if that can't be done, yeah, you have to do your protection work. You have to do your root work. And some people need to be buried. Some people need to be underground. And I'm here for you in that endeavor. Now, another aspect that I would always examine with a request like this is, what did you do to her, if anything? Be clear about that. What did your mama do to her, if anything? Be clear about that. Because again, when we think about generational curses, things happen before you. Things happen before your time. Things happen before your generation. They already mad with your daddy. They already mad with your mama. You don't know why. You don't know what happened. In many of our families, nobody talks about it. Nobody discusses it. You know, especially if it's the wrong thing, then we keep that secret. Oh, we all know Auntie so-and-so did the wrong thing once upon a time, but we're not going to talk about it. We're going to let bygones be bygones. And so the next generation then is born into a hot mess and don't know why. Don't know why grandma and Auntie don't get along. Don't know why mama don't never go see her dad. You know, we might know. We might know some kind of abuse took place. But often the parent don't want to tell their child that, don't want to expose their child to that. You know, so you and I then wake up in the middle of a mess, some kind of controversy, and don't know why. I look at my family, I have a great disconnect with my father's side of the family. Not because of anything that I did, but because of my father and who my father is. You know, and people have a lot of negative energy, you know, towards him and about him and in association with him. And those who don't sort of regurgitate a fairy tale about who he is. And it's nowhere close to reality. So heaven forbid I had children or grandchildren. Now I have several brothers and sisters, several. So I have nieces and nephews who now are some of them are grown. And I think about it all the time. What's it like not having a grandparent or not knowing who your grandparents are? You know, some of my brothers and sisters, they other grandparent passed young. My father's first wife passed in her 40s, you know, which was in the 80s, you know. So we're talking about now you don't have grandma or granddad and you're raising children. In some cases, great-grandchildren now, because some of those children now have children of their own without that information, and that becomes those generational curses. So when people are not you, but when people are obsessed with soulmates, you got to remember that you're not just lighting a candle to your love interest. You're also lighting the candle to all of those ghosts, all those spirits that exist in your soulmate clan. That's why we have to be clear. Back in the day when I did tarot reading, I often said the Lover's card is not about perfect love and relationships. The Lover's card is about you choosing two paths. One that's your heart, one that's your passion, one that has some long-term gravity versus something that might be just temporary and or fleeting. So these soulmate energies typically are very complex, are very deep. You know, it's more than just she looked at me and I don't like her. Something has happened. Something has taken place. And again, if you can get her to talk, that could be helpful if that could happen. But a lot of these cases,
you know, there was no resolution. Nothing made sense. There was a lot of denial. I tried for years to try to figure out what is the course. I mean, the root cause of this issue. And I can't make sense of it. It doesn't make sense. It seems like it's more like a problem with my mother. I tried to figure out what happened between them, what transpired, what was going on for you to have so much hate towards your sister's children, who are your niece and nephew, and particularly your niece, she was my godmother, but I disconnected the spiritual that spiritual covenant or contract with her. I broke that years ago once I realized how toxic and evil she is. So I don't consider her that anymore. I just call her my mother's sister, but I still can't get an understanding of what took place between them.
And the unfortunate thing is that you may not ever.
Yeah.
That's the unfortunate thing about soulmate contracts and generational curses, because often people aren't going to talk, people aren't going to communicate,
They're not going to tell
people
the
aren't
truth.
going to be. That's right. People aren't going to tell the truth. They're not going to be open. You know, they think what we're doing is somehow new age and witchy. You know, when often we're just trying to heal the family, heal the nation, you know, heal the land. So I do. I get it. I get it. Welcome, Wapani, beloved. That's my baby sister, y'all. She knows exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, so you carry stuff, you know, your family treats you a certain way, your cousins and them treat you a certain way, often on rumors, gossip, but nobody wants to really confront what happened. And then when they know what happened, you still have that element of denial. You still have that element you don't want to confront it, want to heal it. You know, they're much more comfortable in their illusion of what's happening, what's going on, and what took place. And that can affect your children. Even if you never allow your children around them, even if you move to another land and don't visit none of your family, this will affect your children.
Yeah.
It's in their DNA. It's in their blood. And our blood is like a crystal. So everything that a crystal can do, your blood cells, those crystallized forms in your body can do the same thing. So that's why we have kids who demonstrate certain behavior. And then we say, I don't know where he got that from. He didn't get that from me. Maybe that's from the daddy's side of the family. He didn't get, you know, that kind of thing. That's that unresolved soul clan, soul family stuff that has to be addressed. Give me a moment. Don't go anywhere. I'm trying to bring more people in.
Okay, good.
Tia, I'm trying to bring you. Dia Nunez, I'm trying to bring you in, beloved.
I want to get your email address.
Give me a second. It might be running a little. Okay. Kiona's going to pop my email in the chat.
Okay.
For me, Tamara.
Gotcha.
Thank you so much. And I'm going to say it out loud from my Blog Talk Radio. It is Divine Prince, DIVINEPRINCE at houseofthedivineprince.com. My website is www.houseofthedivineprince.com, which also has a contact box that terminates in my email. But Tamara, Kiona's going to pop it in the chat again.
Okay, thank you.
If I don't beat her to it. Greetings, Tia, beloved. Greetings, beloved.
Greetings.
How you doing?
Greetings, Santo on everything.
Go ahead, beloved.
I hope that everyone is doing well, but I wanted to pop in and just give you love, Divine Prince, because the work that you and your tribe do is very important at this time, because this is a huge shift. And I also want to give people the FYI, as I know, Divine Prince, you know, that the cosmic doorway of cutting cords, curses with people, getting rid of codependent energy that has been attached to our auras for a very long time is now upon us, beloved, for the next 6 months. Why? Because Ogun's energy, which is Aries and Mars, has just entered into ingress and will be there for 6 months. You all need to take advantage of this energy, because the last time that Mars was in Aries was 1988, and it won't be there again until 2052. So, esoterically, from a spiritual aspect of reality, Mars in Aries is the esoteric knife. It is the knife that cuts things away. It's a good time. If you have Ogun, Maperipumba, ba, that you sit in front of Ogun's pot, you take his machete out of the pot and you cut those cords away and you hit the ground because Ogun is the core of the earth, and ask him to take away all of these curses. It is very, very important. Okay, using the element of the ache of the knife, because Ogun is the blacksmith, and when you use that machete from his pot and you hit the earth, you send that ache to the core of the earth, which is Ogunda Meiji, and it burns off into the ether, my friends. Take advantage of this time because Mars will not be there again until 2052. So again, protection is key as well because Mars will be squaring Mercury. That is a door for people to send you things in the dream time. Make no mistake, the warriors are always important, but they are extremely important now, and they can protect you because you know what? If they can't get you in the flesh, they will get you in your sleep. Being asleep is like being dead. Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay, so when you have this Ogun energy, this cosmic door open, of course you can do this at any time, but you have the alchemical signature of the cosmos, which is even more powerful, my friends. So do not sleep with this energy. Also, all of your triggers, all of the shit you've been ignoring, Ogun will open up that door to cause chaos. So you face that. Okay? So you face that trigger. All right?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Ogun and Pluto, which is Oya, brings chaos on purpose. So they can open up your roads. So they can use the knife to cut things away. I don't want to stay on the line too long. I just wanted to give you guys that beautiful information because you have the beautiful king sitting next to you. But do not sleep on this energy because it's not going to come around. We are in a paradigm shift. Everything that we're doing right now, all the spiritual people, you contracted to come here. We got to cut this shit away because we are going into a new paradigm. Do your work and stop ruminating on the past and these past timelines. All that's done. Now it is for you to walk into the future and allow the ancestors and Orisha and whoever is calling your soul to do the work. That's what you contracted to do. I send you a lot of love, Modupue, for allowing me to speak. I have a reading now, but I love you all so much. Keep moving forward and stand in your truth and power.
Thank you for that.
Ashel, that was great. And not only did she bring it, she brought Odu.
Yeah.
She brought Odu. That's why I say there is no voodoo without Ifa or the Fa. If we were speaking Fan,
right,
or we were in Benin or Togo, it wouldn't be no I, it would just be Fa. So there is no voodoo without Fa. There is no Fa without voodoo. And she brought that Odu. Some of you are still unfamiliar with Odu. When she started talking about Abora and Ogunda Meiji, and some of y'all, you still struggling to get that. And that's why, beloved, my brother, that Yerba is important. Even if you are fine, Ga, Akan, that Yerba is important because this system, this binary coded 256 Odu system exists in all those ethnic groups by different names, but the Yerba are the most prolific. The Yerba are the most published. So it's my foundational teaching tool, if you will. And so often, if you can't get the Yerba, you're definitely not going to understand the Fa. You can't Google Fan and get the same level of detail, wording that you get from the Yerba. And that's why we've chosen this one ethnic group, the Yerba people, out of the 200 ethnic groups that exist in Nigeria, to sort of latch this original romance onto. And so it's a foundation, it's a calling, just like reggae, for instance, just like dreadlocks, for instance. Everybody who listens to reggae ain't Rasta. Everybody that get dreadlocks don't live a ITAL lifestyle. You know, it's a fad, it's a trend. But for some of us, it's an opening. It's our way into the culture. So you might come in by dreading your hair. You might come in by joining a doula group. You might come in by the vegan brother or sister who's really got your colon together. But we've got to go further. You've got to go deeper. And as the sister, as Tia shared, you got to be willing to cut those cords. But it's more to it than just cutting the cords, because now you got to plug that up. You got to replace that with something viable, with something useful. Another way of looking at it is reprogramming. We got to reprogram. And when I think about this racism, this white supremacy thing that we're dealing with, you know, how many are really willing to do that work? I watched a program this morning that really, really set me off. I rarely watch this show for that reason. And it's this one particular person on the show that gets stuck in my craw a little bit more than others. Some of y'all know I'm talking about The View.
Oh,
Some of y'all know I'm talking about Megan. Some of y'all know I'm talking about Megan. And sometimes she comes off very racist.
Yes.
Sometimes she comes off extremely white supremacist. You know, and I think about her in her own words, her entitlement, her favored lifestyle, her royal background and family, you know, as a McCain, you know, and her sense of entitlement just exudes out her pores, just pours through her. And she really got me this morning. I can't even, oh, I know what it was. He was trying to make a comparison between Democrats and Republicans by saying that, you know, the Republicans, who we all know either did not do anything or did the minimalist of things or did ignorant things as it relates to this COVID-19.
Right.
She's trying to compare that to, well, why are y'all allowing all these people to go out and protest? And of course, she's saying people. She's not saying black people, white people. But if you understand what the protest is, it's Black Lives Matter. Even if it's white folks out there, they're doing it in the name of Black Lives Matter.
Right.
So she wouldn't say Black Lives Matter. She wouldn't say these people who are protesting for this very much needed cause. She's saying, like many of the Republicans are saying right now, they're comparing you going out there fighting for your liberty and your life to us telling them they have to wear a mask. So it's a comparison of white supremacy, in my opinion, to the pandemic that is COVID-19.
Exactly,
you know,
I noticed that.
But she's crafty with her words.
Very.
I'm crafty with words. So I'm right there with you, girlfriend. I catch those innuendos. I pay attention to her body language. You know, I pay attention to what speaks that don't come directly out of her mouth. And she comes across extremely white supremacist.
She does.
So it makes me think about, you know, how then do we move forward? Her argument and many of their arguments is it's the economy. It's the economy versus you being treated like a nigga. It's the economy versus white supremacy. It's pretty much the picture that they're trying to paint for us. And so there's a level of a relative truth in that. If we don't start being more self-sufficient, more self-reliant, more financially independent, more financially resourceful, we're always going to be in a position of weakness with people with that mindset. We've got to buy for ourselves. We've got to own for ourselves. I'm tired of hearing I can't grow anything. You can grow, whether it's in the ground, whether it's in a pot, whether it's in a box, whether it's in a bucket, you can grow, you can harvest, you can save. Some of you live in the South, just like me. There's a lot of fruit in our communities. It's a lot of herbs in our communities. Sometimes you got to go to the woods. Sometimes you got to go to the parks, but it's there. Some of you don't walk your neighborhood, so you don't know what's there.
That's right.
I once lived in a neighborhood uptown here in New Orleans that had mango, papaya, giant oranges, giant grapefruit, kumquats, bananas, just in like a 2-block radius of my house. You know, what kind of life is that? You know, and I would go through and I would pick and harvest. Oh, we had a fig tree. You know, I'd go and pick and harvest and collect. You know, some of that I would eat, some of that I would offer to the Orisha, the Loa, to the ancestors. We've got to become more resourceful. Mm-hmm. I have godchildren now that have chicken coops. They got real chicken coops. That's raising them from babies, from chicks to adults. Some of my godchildren. We taking care of business now. So I don't want to hear, especially if you live in the South, especially if you live in the suburbs, especially if you got access to a little space. The problem is we're still trying to conceal this, still trying to hide it, still not sure how I'm going to get my mama to accept this. How am I going to get my aunties and them, my church folks? What are they going to say? Yeah, when they say, well, I still got some people that are dealing with that, beloved.
Yeah,
I won't call names, but I got a godchild, you know, who's well known. Family is well known, particularly in the quote unquote religious church community.
Oh, okay.
So they look up to her, they respect her, you know, they honor her. She got nieces, nephews, cousins, and now want to be just like her. She was the first to go to college, and now many of them are going to college. So they're absolutely following her example. But when it comes to the voodoo, when it comes to this indigenous practice, there she's a little bit nervous. What are they going to say? How they going to act? What's pastor going to say? What's the missionary board going to say? I still got to live in the same town with these people. You know, so it's very specific to the individual circumstance. And we all are at different levels in our comfort zone, but also in our communication. I found in my own story that if you can't communicate what it is that you're doing, what it is you're acknowledging, then how then can you share it? How then can you teach it? How then can you get your family in them to embrace it and understand it if you yourself can't even explain it?
Right.
You're struggling just to make sense of what this Yerba is, what this Ewe is, you know? So keep it simple. Break it down into English. Break it down into elementary language. Keep it to the basics. You know, Mom, I believe in God. I acknowledge God. But I also believe and understand that there might be other powers out there that God has created for us to access. You know, you find the language where your loved one is, where your family member is, where your relative is. This is not just about us. This ain't just about our own healing. This ain't just about our own prosperity. We bleed this energy out into our environment. And indeed, I would hope for our demonstrations to be one that our children, like Tamara and many others, would want to follow, would want to be present in that, would want to absorb that, so that the next generation isn't struggling through the basics of this, what many of us are struggling through today.
Right.
Yes, Cherie Thomas, thank you, beloved. Yes, you walked in on the truth, beloved, every day. Every day, I just have a different energy. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Greetings, Kiona, beloved.
Greetings.
Come on in, Kiona.
Tamara,
come on in.
Speak up for me.
I'm doing good. I had a relative reach out to me, and she told me, she says, come on out and do your thing. She says, she was telling me that she has an ancestral altar, and that she hadn't completed because my cousins are living there, and she didn't want anybody to touch it. But she says, do your thing. You know, nobody in my blood family is judging me. It was the people that I went to church with, or people that I knew or that I know that are Christians, that I had the issue with. But for my blood to tell me to do my thing, And that set me free. And not that I needed her to, but it really did. It released me because I felt good about it.
You needed her too.
I did.
And we all do. We all do. I can't express to you how freeing it is that Wapani, my sister, that my mother call in, participate, comment in the show. I can't tell you how freeing that was for me. And particularly being a young teenage runaway on the street, you develop a sense of isolation, you develop a sense of not having support, not having a team, not having anyone in your corner. And then when people want to embrace you, want to accept you, but then there's that religious wall, there's that cultural wall that just makes things, awkward, and different. So I think on some level, we all want approval. We all want acceptance from our parents, from those who raised us, from our grandparents, from our brothers and sisters, from our guardians. You would want them to be your first fans. You would want them to be your first supporters. And as I was coming along in my spiritual journey, I had elders suggest that to me, who knew my background, who knew the breakdown in my family, but would suggest to me, what power is it, could it be that you might have, that you might possess, that you might share at the community level, but you can't share it with your family? And what does that say, really? Even you Christians out there, what does it say about you, really, that you so holy, that you so sanctified, you can't talk to your family, you can't love your family, you're distant from your family, you disown some of your quote-unquote heathen family? So whether we're talking about Islam, Christianity, Judaism, ATR, Voodoo, Ifa, what does it say about you and your demonstration that what you have now, what you possess, what you're participating in is so powerful that you can't have a healthy relationship with your friends, your family, your immediate circle? You can't share that. You can't express that. And so that keeping it in the closet, keeping it as a secret, is beyond just, ancestral. We had to keep it a secret 300 years ago. You could lose your life. We had to keep it a secret 100 years ago. You could lose your life. Today, some of you could lose your life. Not literally, maybe, but figuratively. This one don't talk to me anymore. That one don't talk to me anymore. This one don't communicate. I'm going through that. I got a cousin that I helped. I got a cousin, the first person in my family to come to me for readings, for work, to learn this system. We fell out over Eshu. We fell out over Elegwa.
What?
And Elegwa started moving things in her house, started running around the walls of her house. She swore she saw Legwa from corner to corner to corner, and it was evil in her mind. Not Legwa did anything evil. It was evil in her mind. The minute she started seeing a response from the spirit realm, it was wicked and evil, and she was done. Now let me add a little bit to that story. Wapani know who I'm talking about. Let me add a bit to that story. From a church perspective, she a heathen. From a church perspective, she ain't never been church going, ain't never been religious, ain't never been all that spiritual. See, some of you are addicted to magic and ritual and controlling, but you ain't spiritual at all. There's church folks just like that. Sit on that pew, read the Bible, hear what pastors say, and ain't never heard the voice of God. And if they did hear the voice of God, they wouldn't know what to do. They'd be spooked. They just going through a ritual. And that's what y'all mean when y'all say, I ain't religious. I can go to the laundromat every Saturday. That's religious. I can go to Walgreens every Tuesday at 10 a.m. and everybody in there know my name. That's religious. That's religious. But religion incorporates spirit. Incorporate spirituality. So whatever your religious preference is none of my business. But your demonstration tells me who you are. Your demonstration tells me who you are. So if you got one man coming out the front and another one going out the back, if you got a man to fix your refrigerator, to fix your appliances, another man to fix your car, another man to pay your rent, another man to pay your utility bills, yeah, you got SU running around the corners of your house. For sure. And it ain't wicked. And if it is wicked, it's a mirror back of your own wickedness. I said that at the beginning of the show. Some of you calling your own wickedness to you. Some of you are inviting people to come into your lives and do jacked up stuff. Some of you are inviting people into your lives to prove over and over again what you think you already believe. I can't trust anybody. Everybody ain't right. Everybody gonna do me harm. Everybody's out for this, that, and the other. And if you really believe that, and some of you really believe that, and I'm not picking on anybody, but I, like my cousin, I got family from the hood. Don't let this articulate accent fool you. I got family from the hood, from the ghettos, from the dark places, if you will. So sometimes it's hard for them to grasp these otherwise really deep spiritual philosophical concepts and issues that this highly erudite and intelligent audience, what we discuss every day. And so when you think about how do I make this make sense to my cousins, my mama, my grandmama, you got to know who it is first that you're talking about and meet them where they are first. Meet them where they are. And then, you ain't got to convert nobody. That's a Christian thing. We don't have no call to go out and convert everybody to Olodumare, to convert everybody to Olofi, to convert everybody to Mawalisa. It's Sakpata. That's not a part of what we do. You're in an indigenous culture, in an untouched culture, without white supremacy, racism, colonizing, missionaries. You would be born where you're supposed to be. You would be born in Cameroon. You'd be born in Nigeria. You'd be born in Ghana. You'd be born where you're supposed to be. We would be born into our past. We would be born into our lineage. We, meaning people of color, African Americans here on this side of the ocean, we don't have that luxury. Unless your family here in America been practicing this tradition for the last 60 years. Your mom and your grandmama. There ain't even any real root Rasta families older than that. Think about it. Think about it. Reds and African culture, this is all new, relatively speaking, when we start looking at decades, when we start looking at centuries. So no, there is no roadmap for us. There is no older generation often for us to look at and say, oh, that's what that looks like. That's what we're supposed to do. That's how that works. And in the Western concept, we mimic and copy in the worst ways. It's a trend, so I'm gonna sag my pants. It's fashionable, so I'm gonna sag my booty out. Everybody else doing it, so I'm gonna let my drawers hang out. We follow in this group mindset, in this gang-like mindset, as an extension of Western toxicity. We learned that from the West. You don't mimic. Look at indigenous culture. Look at Asia. Look at South America. Look at Africa. Look at the village indigenous. You don't mimic and repeat what's not healthy, what's not useful, what's not beneficial, what's not working. But we do it in the West, particularly if it's got a dollar attached to it. We'll do it in the West, particularly if everybody else is doing it. If it'll get me, 1,000 likes, I'm a gag on some cereal and milk and possibly kill myself. That's the most ridiculous thing. These challenges get more and more ridiculous every week. And if I see one more person trying to pour cereal and milk down somebody's inverted throat, I might throw a root at you. It's just ridiculous. So we've got to change our mindset about what religion is, what spirituality is, what being African is, what being Black is. What is Black really in the concept of Black Lives Matter? Who is Black really in the context of Black Lives Matter? Are women being represented? Is people like me being represented? You know, who is being represented? And when we listen to the talking heads who are often going for the likes, so they say the most aggressive things, they say the most racially inflammatory things, but they get a lot of attention. But does that conversation carry us into the future? Does that conversation give us a roadmap, a blueprint to stand on moving forward? Voodoo saved my life, cousin. Voodoo saved my life. Wapani, Voodoo saved my life, mama. Voodoo saved my life, Kiona. I would be a statistic. I would be the gay, Black, male, impoverished, uneducated statistic. That would, and probably probably got a second hand if I really think about it. You know, if we include credit, you know, and stuff like that. You know, many of us got several things as a roadblock to our living a quote unquote American dream. And is that really what we want to live? Is that really what we want to live? I'm going to be featured on a show coming soon. Sam Sheridan. Oh, wow. I always draw a blank when I try and quote the name of that show from memory. So give me a second to pull it up. I'm going to be featured on Nat Geo. For some of your older folks, the National Geographic Channel. On Nat Geo with Sam Sheridan. And the show is going to be called The Atlas of Legendary Places. Now, I probably shouldn't say, but it's probably legally safe for me to say. This show was produced by the same people who produced Buried Worlds with Don Wildman, Voodoo's Dark Magic, that which is at the top of my Instagram right now, which is going viral, by the way. It was produced by the same people, but not the same show, not the same host, not the same subject matter. So if you enjoyed Baron Samedi and zombies and poisonous plants and elixirs and whatnot, you'll greatly enjoy the Atlas of Legendary Places, hosted by Sam Sheridan. Now, I also brought up his name because Sam Sheridan is also the author. He's a journalist and an author, and he's written a very popular book called The Disaster Diaries. The Disaster Diaries. I've also, in many previous shows, invited you to read Octavia Butler. Octavia Butler, may she rest in her room. Octavia Butler, The Parable of the Sower. The Parable of the Sower. Now, I don't want to get into it because I don't want to mess it up if you're going to actually read the book. And I do know I have some listeners right now who are reading Octavia Butler's book. I also have some listeners who are reading the Disaster Diaries by Sam Sheridan. But it paints a very special picture of where we might be right now in our country and in the world, and where we might be headed. And so I saw a post earlier today that went something like this. You might understand now why Big Mama saved all that bacon grease in an old can. You might understand now why Big Mama washed out her aluminum foil and reused it. You might understand right now why it's important to monitor how much toilet paper your family might be using and or wasting at any given time. You might understand now why your elders and your grandparents and those who came before, who survived the Depression, who survived really challenging scenarios, who survived segregation and Jim Crow and white supremacy in the South and survived. You might understand. I say to be really a voodoo practitioner, an Ifa practitioner, a practitioner of Santeria, a practitioner of Candomblé, you have to rebirth an indigenous mindset. You can do it and be in the West, you can do it and live in the West, but you can't do it and have a Western mindset. You have to readjust how you think, how you believe, how you see things, where you draw your power from. The power base in the West is different from the power base in Voodoo. It's different from the power base in the Mayan culture, the Incan culture, and any of the indigenous world cultures. We draw our power from nature. We draw our power from God. We draw our power from the spirit. The Western world draws their power from infamy and celebrity and wealth and money. Doesn't matter what you do. Doesn't matter your state of morality. It doesn't matter if you didn't mess with little children or harmed women or been abusive to men if you got $1 billion. That's the Western mindset. Well, he rich. Well, he's got money. I don't want to start calling out celebrity names because I don't want to create no controversy. But we've gotten behind some celebrities who've done some really bad stuff. We've gotten behind some celebrities who've done some questionable stuff. You know, and I'm not here to judge. I work with celebrities every day. I work with people's business every day. Some stuff that would just, blow your hair back. And I would never come here and share it. I would never come here and discuss it. But I'm telling you, be careful about where you place your value. Be careful about where you place your pentacles. Be careful about tarot readers, about where you place those coins. Be careful. Neophyte Bokur, I like that question. The ancestors are calling. Are we listening? Do you hear the drum beats? I do. Do you hear the call? My phone number is area code 845-277-9143. No hands are raised, and that's okay. I'm going to move forward momentarily. I do have appointments. I do have clients to attend to. I have an ancestral work and divination to do today. So all is truly and indeed a blessing. I invite you to connect with me in social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, wherever you might find me, and friend me, like me, show your support. I also appreciate your offerings and your donations to keep the ministry and keep the voodoo going and keep the voodoo moving forward. I appreciate you. I appreciate you all taking the time out of the middle of your day to be present here with me every day at high noon, U.S. Central Standard Time. Tiffany, wow, I've never seen Tiffany spelled that way. That's interesting. So I hope I'm pronouncing it right. She's trying so hard to do everything that her slave ancestors are asking her to live. It's hard, and she's working on it. But if she can find someone to lead, beloved, I'm here for you. I'm here for you. Just send me an email. Just contact my website. I'll be more than happy. And even if you contact me on social media, it's all good. I'm just going to send you my email address and direct you back there. Yeah, Octavia Butler absolutely predicted where we are and where we're heading. She unfortunately had a little bit of an accident a few years back. I believe she was on cold medicine. She's the second friend of mine who passed away by overdosing on cold medicine. So you all be very careful, especially now in this season of Corona. And so, you know, y'all have forgot about allergies, the common cold, the normal flu. Y'all have forgot about that. So I don't want you to get any kind of symptoms and then go into panic mode. You can absolutely hurt yourself with Tylenol, cold and flu, you know, with over-the-counter cold and flu medicines. So I have two friends who took too much cold and flu, and in both case scenarios, they somehow fell or tripped over and injured their heads and passed away. And I believe that is Octavia Butler. story. She was on cold and flu medication, and I think she went to her door to check her mail or something, and fell and passed away maybe 3 years ago. But that book, Parable of the Sword, that'll help you to get your life right. Parable of the Sword made me move out of California, y'all. If you live in California,
Divine Prince, I just ordered the book. When you said it the last week, I was like, I need to read this. I read some of the foreword, and I read some of the a snippet of it. I said, I gotta order this book right now.
yeah, it's a deep book. And forgive me, Kiona, and anybody else who live in California.
She was giving her testimonial, her confirmation, but she done you didn't get a chance to say what you was gonna say. You said if you live in California, what?
If you live in California, forgive me. Forgive me. But
Oh, okay.
I moved out of California. I moved out of California permanently, and for the last time after I completed reading that book. This is not a horror story. It's not a horror story, but it'll scare the bejesus out of you. If you are a survivalist, if you are a person who believes that bad things are coming, this book will scare the bejeebies out of you.
Oh Lord.
So yeah, I moved out of California, baby. I got the hell out of Dodge. I said, oh no, that won't be me. That won't be me. And I started pulling. I'm serious, y'all. I had a map the size of this wall. And I would look at the map, I would pray at the map, I would divine at the map. Sometimes I would take the map down and I would do pendulum divinations over the map, trying to figure out where I was going to go. Because I did not want to be in California when what she said happened. And then I started having somebody got background noise. Please mute that. Then I started having these premonitions. Every time an earthquake would come, it was a sign for me that I had to move. Every time an earthquake would come, I would have to move. I would have to move. And God kept telling me, you can't be here. If you're here, you will absolutely be here when the big one comes. And Kiona and others who live in California know what I mean when I say the big one. That's sort of the California myth. At some point, we're going to fall off into the ocean, and it's going to be that real, 9.0 earthquake, So God kept telling me this. And at that time, I was young, I was hanging out, I was in the clubs, and sometimes I would be in the club and I would feel that earthquake movement. It would be real. To this day, I still have earthquake sensibility. When Haiti had that earthquake a few years back, I lived around the corner from where I live now in an apartment building on the second floor. I was on the phone with my sister wife, Tony Val, and I said, girl, did you feel that? That was an earthquake. And within 5 minutes, they announced this earthquake in Haiti. So it's not just something that I experienced in California, but I think because of California, and how the frequency of California can affect your spiritual gifts, I believe I picked up an extra gift of sensibility to earthquakes while I was there. So these earthquakes come through, literally and figuratively, and God would tell me, you got to move. So when I read Octavia Butler's book, and let me be clear, I'm not giving away her book. There ain't no earthquakes in Octavia Butler's book. But there are other things in the book specific to California that made me say, okay, I got to go. And one of those things was, just imagine, listener, wherever you are in the world right now, just imagine something real bad happens. It's no food, it's no plumbing, it's no electricity. The government can't help you. Just imagine that for a minute, as scary as it might be. What would you do? And where might you go? And one of the things that I have a vivid imagination. One of the things that I thought about was I wanted to at least be around my friends and my family. How far am I from my parents, for instance? How far am I from my sisters and brothers, for instance? I started thinking about that in terms of where I was going to move. I also thought about how many Black people live there, how many people of color live there. You know, so Colorado or Montana was out of the question. Wisconsin was out of the question. You know, moving into a cold region was out of the question. You know, and this is part of the process that I personally went through before I moved to New Orleans finally and settled here. At that time, I was also reading a book. The name escapes me right now, but Kiona, remind me. I'm gonna have the name of that book tomorrow.
Okay.
It's about Marie Laveau. It's about Marie Laveau. It's written by a white man. It's a fictional book. I want to say the book was written maybe in the 50s, but he describes New Orleans as sort of these fanciful, exaggerated, in some cases even racist and white supremacist terms. But it piqued a greater interest in Louisiana for me, in New Orleans. And so I was reading that and reading Octavia Butler and trying to figure out, you know, on the map, I looked at the statistics, where are the Black people in America? You all do understand 75 to 80% of us still live in the South. Even if you're in Chicago, you see a lot of Black people. You in LA, Black people are the minority in LA. I don't care how many Black folks you see. Look at the numbers. So we still primarily exist in the South. Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, the Carolinas, Virginia, Maryland. We still primarily live in the South. So I had always feared the South. Growing up in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area in the DMV, being born, you know, in Chicago and still having family, siblings, you know, in Chicago, I always feared the South. All I heard was racism, lynching, white supremacy, civil rights movement. That's all I knew and understood about the South. I actually had a all-paid 4-year scholarship to the University of Mississippi and refused to take it. I was that terrified at 15, 16 about what the South was. So when Octavia Butler came along and Marie Laveau came along, it was haunting in both a positive and negative way. It was very haunting, and it called me back to my roots. It called me back to my own family. It called me back to who I am and where I come from and what that might mean, you know, for me at that particular stage in my life. And I was in my 30s then. We're talking about 25, 30 years ago. So I invite you all to read these books. I invite you all to explore any of the books that I share here on the show, that I offer here on the show. Adrian Robertson, when are we first coming into, no, let me re-say that. When we are first coming into African spirituality, do our ancestors tell us which path to follow, Ifa or Voodoo? Does bloodline matter in terms of where we descend from in Africa? Absolutely. And forgive me, Adrian, maybe you didn't hear what I said earlier. It's all voodoo. It's all voodoo. And it's all Fa. It's not all Ifa, but it's all Fa, F-A. Look at the last part of your question, bloodline, ethnicity. Ifa, I-F-A, is a Yoruba word. So you're talking about the Yoruba people. I painted a picture of the continent and a specific country, Nigeria, just Nigeria. Google population count Nigeria. 200 ethnic groups in Nigeria. 200 languages and linguistic differences in Nigeria. Yet, here in the West, yet here in the Americas, we have what I call an Orisha romance. So when we say Orisha, We're speaking Yerba. We're speaking Yerba. So we hang everything on one set of people. So when you say E5 versus Voodoo, what do you mean? Are you talking about Yoruba people versus Ewe versus Fan versus Akan versus Ga versus Hausa? There's so many other ethnic groups. So in my house, in my lineage, in our path, bloodline is everything. Black, white, red, yellow, green, purple, bloodline is everything in our house. And it's a part of the ancestral work and divination that we do. It's a requirement for those who are initiated. For those who aren't initiating, okay, you can play that a little bit looser, and they may come to me just for certain services, if you will. But if you're initiating with me, it's a requirement. Bloodline, ancestry, who we descended from, it's a requirement. Because if your people ain't Yoruba and aren't predominantly Yoruba, that might not be our focus. We might then focus on Fan, Igbo, Hausa. We might focus on another group, Suku, Himba. We might focus on another specific ethnic group. But we teach from Yoruba. I continue to teach from Yoruba because it's the most prolific. They hold the highest degrees. They're the most educated ethnic group in America, if you didn't know that. And they write books. You can't find books in Fan. And even if you can you pronounce Fan? Can you read Fan? Can you speak French? Because the Fan people in Togo, Benin, their government language, if you will, is French. The Yoruba, their government language is English. It's English. Nigeria, the government language is English. So it makes it that much easier for those educated Yorubas to produce books that we can follow. But the books that you're getting the Orisha romance in are often not being written by Yoruba people, are not being written by Nigerians, are being written by Americans, white, black, and Hispanic, and are often adding, extra layers, in some cases, extra taint on the information that we're getting. So much so that some of you still believe that there's a 7-day cycle and Oshun represent Friday and Legba is on Monday, and that's not real. It's not real. Legba can stand up on any day. Let's be clear. And in a ritual cycle of things, he don't always stand up on Monday. He can stand up on any given day in the week, depending on the ritual calendar. My godchildren understand the ritual calendar. My ancestor work and divination clients understand ritual calendar. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Divine Prince.
Yes, come on in.
Before we end, I wanted to ask you, is there a difference between a Babalawo or an Ifa priest and an Orisha priest?
Yes. Oh,
Okay.
yes. And that's important, particularly for those of you. Yes, Wapani. Oh my God, my sister is so deep. Girlfriend, y'all, that's my sister, Wapani. That's my mother's child. My mom has 2 kids, me and Wapani. Yes, that's the book. Voodoo
Thank
Dreams.
you,
That's the
Wapani.
book. That's the book. That's the book. She done pulled that book out. Oh my God, I had no idea she even knew anything about that book. But yes, re-ask your question again. Bring me back.
And that's my sister too.
Divine Prince, I was asking, is there a difference between an Ifa priest or
That's right.
Babalawo and an Orisha priest?
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Okay.
And for those who are operating in any manifestation of Yoruba tradition, so Ifa, Santeria, Lukumi, 7 African powers, if you will, there's absolutely a distinction. And that's why some of you are confused and some of you are losing your money. Now, first of all, a Babalawo is married to use a voodoo terminology. It's married to Orunmila. It's married to Orunmila. A Babalawo allegiance is to Orunmila and the spirit of divination and the divination board. So Babalawo don't work Orisha. A Babalawo ain't doing your love spells, your finance. The Babalawo don't do that. A Babalawo deals in Odu. Odu. And the letters of Odu fall on the divination board. Ianifa, in Yerba tradition, because this is where I don't agree with the Yerba. Women are not allowed to do certain things in Yoruba culture. Women can't aspire to the same level of knowledge and a level of power, according to that tradition, as men. So Ianifas use shells, not palm nuts, and they use a certain number of shells in accordance to the system, and then they read Odu from that perspective. And Ianifa might also have received other crowns, Yemiya, Oshun. See, when you receive that crown, that deity on your head, you receive the mysteries of that deity. So if you go to Nigeria, for instance, and you want Oshun, you got to go to Oshogbo, Nigeria. That's a very specific river, a very specific place. Oyo, Nigeria, is a whole nother village. That's where you go to find Shango. It's in Oyo. Here in the West, we got all of that together. We done mixed all of that up. People walking around with 7 beads on their strands of beads, 10 strands of beads, like they got all of those mysteries. And it might take a year or more to gain the mystery of each of those deities. You come in, you get initiated, you get your hand, but there's a process, just like university. Freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. Then you go on to get your master's. Then you go on to get your Ifa and spirit practice is the same. So Babalawo should only be reading. That's it. They shouldn't be, they might tell you Orisha's saying, Orisha's doing, Orisha needs you to, and then you go to your godparents. And you should have godparents if you're practicing this authentically. And then the godparents help you to address, do we need 4 legs? Do we need rooster, chicken, goat? Do we need to call in the Orisha priestess? Do we need to call in the Oshun priestess? So I'm answering the Orisha priestess part of your question. They are not Babalawos. They are not Ianifas, but they have been mastering and growing in the ways of Orisha, and particularly a specific Orisha. Again, when you go to Nigeria and you're born in Nigeria without the white man's involvement, racism, slavery, in a perfect condition, you're not born into all of these different Orishas. Your family has specific ancestral people that they acknowledge. Your family has specific Orisha powers that they acknowledge. So if you live in Oshogbo, it might be Oshun. Almost everything you do is Oshun. And if you have other issues, other complications, you then going to travel to where that power is, to where Ogu resides.
I see. Okay.
So here in the West, we got it all together, and we got it all encompassed in one house. And in a perfect house has Babalawos, Ianifas, readers, has Orisha priests to do the work, has doulas to birth the babies, etc., etc. You have a community of people that then come together. Now these fake practitioners would have you believe that they're all things, that they're everything. They the Babalawo, they the Ianifa, they the priests, they the Mambo, they the Hogan, they the Bokur, they the Obia, they everything. And to say that, let me be more specific. When you hear me say Pan-African spiritualist, practitioner, author, advisor, Elagoon in service to the ancestors, Oloye means chief. Obeya, Bokur. I had to master that. I had to grow to that. I had to be initiated into that. I had to be helped into that. And that requires elders. That requires people that come before you. That requires people who are already doing the work, people who've already made mistakes, people who've already seen bad things, so that you then don't have to make the mistakes, so that you then don't have to repeat the bad things. And that's one of the benefits of having a village. They say it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to raise an initiate. It takes a village to raise someone fully in these traditions. And we can put that in a Western context. We could be talking about Islam. We could be talking about Christianity. We could be talking about other organized systems. No one comes in and does everything. No one comes in and becomes the head without passing through a certain gauntlet of levels of growth and evolution. No one does. And so when we try to take those shortcuts, when we try and mimic those shortcuts, that's witchcraft. Now you're dabbling in ego. Now you're dabbling in, I don't care what God might want or say. I don't care what the angels might desire. I don't care what the Orisha and Loa. I want what I want, and I want it now. That's witchcraft. That's not indigenous to any world culture, except this one that fell from the sky and now has come in and has changed everything on the planet. I just leaked the truth. I know y'all caught that. Yes, they fell from the sky. They came from another place. Almost all the evidence points to that. They found a way to merge into humanity. Farrakhan talked about Yaku. Elijah Muhammad talked about Yaku. Some of y'all know that story. This scientist who created another race of people. And now things are just out of control. Now things are just out of control. So yeah, there's an order. I hope I answered your question, beloved.
Yes.
Orisha are crowned in a specific Orisha or a specific set of Orishas, and they know their secrets and their mysteries. Okay. If there's a problem, if you a block of complication, they're gonna send you to a Babalawo. Now in Voodoo, it's structured differently. The reader, the diviner, the Hogan, the Mambo can read, can divine, but can also possess. And that's when we allow Loa to take over our body and to show up and demonstrate in ceremony. So in that case, a Mambo, a Hogan might be possessed by a particular Loa and then make your Gregory while they're in the trance. Then make your spirit bath while they are entranced by this other power. And so in Voodoo, you do see the leaders, the priests, doing work and divining, but they still had to be trained for that. In Ifa, they keep it separate. One of the reasons they keep it separate is to protect the authenticity of it. If your Babalawo is also the person that's doing your work, is also the person who's instructing you in Orisha, is also your mentor, it leaves open too much room to manipulate you, to control you. So you get a second opinion, you get a third opinion. So you got the Babalawo, you got the Ianifa, you got the Orisha priest that say, oh no, that's not what that sign means. In our history, that sign means A, B, and C. And then you apply. You have other opinions. Thank you for the question. I really appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Thank you for answering. Thank you.
Now let me check the phone line before I move it forward. Okay. All is truly and indeed a blessing. I appreciate you all. You all are actually going to allow me to maybe breathe and drink some water and maybe even have lunch before I get caught up in my afternoon appointments, which usually go on to as late as 9 o'clock at night.
No maybes. You have to eat lunch.
Yeah, I do. And a lot of times I don't. A lot of times I don't eat breakfast. I get on here at 11 o'clock. I'm already here. Right. Some of y'all like and Keyshia, some of y'all know that. Like Tasha Love. she'd be here sometimes at 11 o'clock. And I might play videos on the screen for you to look at, voodoo-oriented videos. So technically, I'm on here from like 11 until the show ends, whether it's at 2, whether it's at 3. To prepare for the show, I'm typically on here at 8 or 9 in the morning. I'm going through my email. I'm making sure all my technical points are set up here as far as how this programming works for StreamYard. I'm making sure my Blog Talk Radio is in place. I got my detailed, text information. So usually at 8:30, 9 o'clock, I'm already here. I'm already standing right here in this position, getting ready for a noon show. And then if I'm interrupted, I get phone calls, as you all have heard, back to back to back to back. And that can slow me down. So typically I don't eat until 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. And for a diabetic, that's just not good. It's just not healthy for me to do that. So I appreciate you all. I love you all. I'm here for you. I support you in your endeavors. I pray that you would support me as well. I'm continuing to prepare a place for you just on the other side of that wall. And so I appreciate your support, your donations, your offerings. For those of you who are concerned, for those of you who care, I have a chair. I have a very special chair. It's a divination.
Oh, great, you got it.
It's not physically here.
Okay.
Because we're talking about a throne chair.
Okay.
A divination throne chair, specifically carved and created for voodoo divination. So it's physically not here, but in terms of ownership, it's mine. It's locked in. FedEx is doing what it's got to do to ship something of that size and of that weight. I believe the weight is listed at 240 pounds, I believe. So we're talking about a big piece of implement, a big piece of equipment. It's the main piece in the altar room for divination. You can envision a church and a pulpit and your mic stand and your communion table. I mean, there are certain things that are in place. When we think of a Haitian voodoo temple, there's a pito matan. That's that center post. And then there's a circular construction around the center post that then has an opening in it, and there's certain ritual symbolisms behind how to create sacred space. So just as I have been teaching how to create sacred space around ancestors and ancestral work, I'm now letting you all into the creation of sacred space as it relates to divination, as it relates to Beloved's question about Babalaos, the Anifas, Orisha priests, some of the things that she didn't ask but were implied, Hogans, Mambos, Bokors, Bokanans. All of these represent spiritual, priestly positions in these traditions from a West African, and in the case of Haiti, from a voodoo perspective. When we break it down, hoodoo occultism into English, it all sounds like something else. But with that layer of knowledge, with that layer of information behind it, those of us who are in the know understand and can connect at a deeper level. So I can't wait. This chair will be powerful, literally and figuratively, whether you hear physically or whether you're looking at me on camera. And that's another thing. I want you all to prepare. Get your cameras together. Get your webcam together. I'm trying to slow up doing readings and consultations on the phone. I would rather use Skype. I would rather you can see me and I can see you, at least your face. And those of you who have more than a face, an altar, a shrine, and we're doing work, it would be so much better if we can see each other, even if you aren't physically here. Some of you are already planning to travel here. Be careful. Be very paced, because we have to watch what's happening. 30 states are seeing a rise in COVID-19. Y'all better get it together. You're not bringing it here. So sorry. You're not going to bring COVID-19 to me. So I'm in town today, July 1st. Can I have a meeting with you tonight? No. I'm in town. It's July 1st. Can I come see you tomorrow morning? No. 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 It needs to be well planned, well thought out, predetermined visitation. Now, my godchildren, y'all welcome. My initiates, you're welcome. Bring your mask, bring your hand sanitizer. Be prepared to be at least one room away from the prince. Won't be no hugging, won't be no kissing, won't be no touching. Okay? We can do all the regular, some of y'all know it's things that you do when we can do that, but won't be no physical contact. I've doubled the space. Hear me. I've doubled the space. I've taken this space and I've doubled it. Meaning what's on the other side of that wall belongs to us now. It's a part of this house now. And so it allows me to keep you at least at arm's length. No, more than arm's length. Take that back. At a room's length away from me. No more than 2 people will be allowed in here. Ain't gonna be no 4 and 5 and no. 2, and I'm gonna know at least a week or more out that you coming. 2, and y'all gonna have mask. Yes. Sanitizer. Yes. And I'm on point like this. And y'all gonna sit way over there. And the throne room, the divination room will be visible to you, but you won't be able to come in. You won't be able to touch me. You won't be able to touch the chair. Just like at the Smithsonian, you can take your pictures, you can take your video, but you won't be able to touch. The store will eventually, I'm still working on that, will eventually be open. The Botanica is only available to godchildren and initiates and my clients and those clients of Denise Augustine and Our Sacred Stories. So things will be prepackaged. If we know ahead of time what your EBO is, because there's no such thing as a pre-made gree-gree, then we'll prepare and package it, and it'll be sitting on the table where you can grab it without making any contact with me. PayPal only. PayPal only. No other services, no Cash App, no. And I've heard some of y'all complaints. Ain't nothing wrong with PayPal. PayPal is like a bank. So if you mess up with PayPal, if you owe money with PayPal, if you got a transaction that's a little fishy with PayPal, yeah, some people can't use PayPal. I get it. Some people have a block with PayPal. I get it. But I won't be accepting cash. Not cash that I'm going to touch or make any kind of contact with anytime soon. Just like the wishing well, you could put your cash in that jar, but we probably won't touch it for a month or more until we can spray it down with some Lysol. All is truly and indeed a blessing, y'all. I'm talking, and I said I was going to keep it moving. Area code 318. Who's calling 318? Who's calling and where you calling from?
This Hoodoo Coastal, what do you do?
All is a blessing, and yes,
I'm calling from over Texas.
Yes, beloved, all is a blessing. Come on in. What's your question, comment, or request?
I wanted to say a few things. I put in the chat. Can your ancestor work and divination students, could they study together, or it has to be a one-on-one thing?
Yes.
Like a personal, individual thing.
Yes, they can study together, but here's the problem. Only my most advanced students. Yes, they can study together. Here's the problem. Only my advanced students are prepared to teach. I don't have no student that's only been around a month that's in a position to teach. So when they're coming together, whether it's now, if you hear, that's different. I'm teaching if you hear. I'm demonstrating if you hear. And that's why I'm inviting, make appointments, set up your Skype, and it would be no different than hands-on instruction. So if my students and I are in a go-to meeting, what do you call that app? Because I don't use Zoom. I don't trust Zoom either. A go-to meeting, yeah. If my students are in a go-to meeting, I can see you, you can see me, you can see each other. Yeah, absolutely, that can happen. I had a godchild about a month or so ago. She asked a similar question, but she was all over the place. And so I would never put, I'm gonna say it, I would never put a problem off on another student. I would never give a student a jinn to work with, a demon to work with. And hoodoo occultism, some of my clients, some of the people I'm helping got demons, got jinn. And we're trying to heal that, work with that, repair that, fix that, before they can even get in a position to teach and instruct the other. So, you know, when I think about college and I think about the study group, how much work got done in the study group? How often did we focus on the math, the science, the French? I know when I was in college, my French study group was a smoking group. We was a reggae listening to, a world music listening to, smoking group. And so we got together and we did some French and we smoked. And my French teacher knew that. And she would test, oh, Monsieur, I was still a Harris back then. Oh, Monsieur Harris, you know. And she'd throw that French out at me and I would come right back. And she couldn't understand it, because a lot of people still think that smokers and smoking makes you slow, makes you dumb, impairs your consciousness. And if you're young, I agree. I don't agree with kids smoking. I don't agree with 15, 16, 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds smoking any more than I would liquor or cigarettes. You're too young. Your frontal cortex ain't developed until you're 5. But mature people who've done well, who handle their budget, handle their business, who smoke at 30, 40, 50, it's a very different thing. Very different thing. And they're not losing control. So not to digress from your original question, but that is about your question. What then happens in the social group? Because again, this environment, this sacred space attracts everything. And not just people like you and I who are interested in learning this, interested in the ancestors. Some people looking for a husband.
90 seconds.
Some of y'all looking for a wife. Some of y'all looking for the next hookup. Some of y'all looking to make a friend with somebody who you could parasite off of, who you could share your sad story with, and maybe they'll send you some money on your Cash App. So that's my concern, beloved, about how to bring us together.
60 seconds.
Or have you operate together in a group that's going to be positive, that the material is actually going to be shared. So let me offer this. I just offered it. I'm willing to do go-to meetings. I'm willing to do Skype with multiple people. I'm willing to show you hands-on. This is what you do. This is how you do it. This is how you apply it. But obviously not in this public format. I'm going to give you peeks of it in Patreon. For my students, Patreon is much more valuable because they know what's going on. They know what's being said. They know it's being demonstrated. But based on your question, hoodoo occultism, and many others,
10 seconds.
I'm going to make a personal concerted effort to improve in that regard. So my coming videos will be more specific, more hands-on, I will say Omi tu, Ona tutu, tutu babek koshiku, koshiku fatiba, and I'm going to do it so that the literature that I'm sending you makes sense. But I'm asking you personally, beloved, Hoodoo occultism, but also everybody who's listening. I can't help you if you ain't got time for me. Meaning, on the weekends, I should be hearing from my students. I should be hearing from my godchildren. I should be hearing from the people who are already doing ancestral work and divination. Now, some of y'all are sending me updates. I love that. I'm getting updates from some of you. Here's my shrine. Here's my altar. This is what I'm doing. This is what's been happening. And I appreciate that. And those people feel a more sense of fluidity, if you will, in the work. So if that's not happening, I can see how you might feel a little disconnected. Some people actually need to see things to understand, need to have some hands-on things. So I hope I answered your question and then some. Are you still there? Oh, okay, he hung up. Okay, well, yes, well, I hope I answered your question and then some. I appreciate you. I love you. I support you in your endeavors. I'm here for you. You are not alone. You're not battling this by yourself. You are not the only one that sees things. You are not the only one that hears these things. You're not the only one that's having this experience. I'm here for you. I'm here to teach. I'm here to share. I'm here to build community, not just with me and my house, but with each other. I want everyone here to connect. I want everyone here to come together. I want everyone here to be at my next ceremony, whenever coronavirus is going to allow that to happen. I need us to come together. I'm with you, Seti. I'm with you, Malachi. I'm with you, Hoodoo occultism. I'm with you, Kiona. I'm with you, Keyshia. I want that to happen. But first, it's got to start in the mind. It's got to start in our actions. So come on now, get your Skype together. Add me to Skype. I need to see more of you being active on Skype. Pop in. Let's see what's happening. I can move this camera around the house. I can move this computer around the house. Ultimately, I'm going to have accessibility so you can see the divination room, so you can see the other aspects of the temple, and I'll bring that to this shared space. So until next time, remembering that all is truly and indeed a blessing if you can just see beyond the veils. It's all just an illusion and a test and one of the greatest divine mysteries of this life cycle. Ashe and Odabo. Thank you, Tamara. Thank you, beloved. Thank you, Neophyte Parkour. Thank you, Kiona. Thank you. Thank you, Chef Lucy.
My Greek soup.
Boil a gumbo, hot and steady. Don't care if Freddie ready. We got our own music. We got our own artists. We have our own community. I invite you. I invite you. I invite you. Come in. Come in.
Build a fire.
Some of y'all need a bath. Some of y'all need a bath.
When the black cat scratch at you.
Come on in. Come on in.
Under a full moon that blue.
Chant the magic words, Kufaru.
A dash of cayenne to the room.
Go put
On my Greek soup.
Ashe, oh, Ashe. Aye, Bobo.
Black top hat. Black suit too. Single rock that moves its through. I'm gonna get them balls out the graveyard for you. Can't see my eyes, black shades too. A dash of cayenne too. Gonna put on my green suit. Yeah. Black top hat, black suit too. Single rod that moves its through. I'm gonna get them balls out the graveyard for you. Can't see my eyes, black shades too. Going free at that old cemetery. Down on Claiborne where she's buried. A dash of cayenne too. Gonna put on my